Thank you, thank you. To say that I feel awkward after such words is to say nothing. Just, it's quite another person. It's me and too much appraisal. And first of all, I want to say that I'm very glad to be here. I'm very glad to feel such friendly, amazingly friendly atmosphere, and to see so many smiling and faces, and see that people are eager to improve education. And Mark has already said that I've been to New York, and it was the only one day, and I visited a pair of schools, and I was very much impressed. I know that the schools were the best, but they were really the best. And I was very much impressed. And by the way, there was a correspondent, and they has already published the article about this visit, so you can read it. Well, and so I'm not going to talk a lot about my feelings, because I just say they are very, I'm very much impressed. So excuse my English, because I'm not so sure that it is so brilliant as it is explained here, as it was, and now I don't know the word to say it. And so I asked, and my friends have agreed to help me to interrupt me when my English is not understandable, and so to ask questions if something is not the message has gone somewhere in the air. So now I'll start. First of all, you see, I have a lot of things to speak about, because I understand that our two peoples, American people and Russian people, were separated for a long period of time. And we had made a lot of very interesting things, and we do not know about them. And so I think that if it is the first step of knowing the best in this country and in Russia, then it will be very benevolent. Yeah? We will benefit from this very much. So that's the end of this part of speech. So, and now I want to talk about many things, and as the mouse in Alice in Wonderland said, it will be a long and sad tale. So I want to start with some, with involving you in these things, because the things are really difficult. It took me about 5 or 6 or 7 years to understand what I'm going to talk about. And I hope that you will understand it in an hour or two. And but it is difficult. So, well, let's begin. I ask you just to do some things to come into the process. Just first of all, if you will be so kind to answer the questions, it will be very nice of you. And then write the answers on a piece of paper. And maybe somebody from your, it is not compulsory for everybody, but those who want to take part in it, so they may have one person to bring it to this chair, and so we'll have the answer, the statistics, we can classify it. So I'll be not very fast, but the questions are very simple. So it's just, I remember that what do you think your teachers and your students will answer when being asked these questions, and what do you think are the right answers? That's it, the first and the second. I think that it is not necessary to read. Is it? Can you see it? Yes, okay. So 5 minus 1 plus 2. And by the way, excuse me, it is not compulsory to divide teachers and students. If you want, you can do it. Then the third question, 3 cats eat 3 sausages for 3 minutes. How much time do 5 cats need to eat 5 sausages? Children usually say it in a moment. Well, we need 5 minutes to get 1 egg boiled. How much time will it take to get 5 eggs boiled? Where does the sun rise and where does it set? A man is holding a pencil in his fingers. A usual pencil. He lets the pencil go. What will happen? Am I not fast? Am I? No, maybe I'm too quick? Well, imagine that you have acquired an ability to overcome any obstacles. Where will you get to if you steadily move to the east? I mean eternally. Steadily, eternally go to the east. That is the first part of the question. Then where will you get to if you steadily move to the north? Eternally. And the third part of this question, where will you get if you constantly move to the northwest? It is not so simple. I want to see what usual answers I get, but I don't want to spoil the experiment. Well, just wait for a minute. And the 8th is, you left the building of the White House, I'm not sure that the White House, and walked 500 kilometers straight to the north. Imagine that you are able to overcome any obstacles. Turned to the west and walked another 500 kilometers, then turned to the south and walked another 500 kilometers, and finally turned to the east and walked 500 kilometers again. Where will you come to? And the last, but not the least, why is a match put out if you breathe on it? I think I've brought them. Usually this experiment was done in such sort of way. I worked with Academy of Pedagogical Sciences, and I think that I'm just in a list yet. And so I made some experiments. I came to schools after it is a prompt, to the subject where it is studied, and then after the lessons which were devoted to this point, and did such a thing. And so what has happened and why? And then I knew what they would write, and then I've done such a thing, and half of people were very much embarrassed because they wrote down, I would say, carbon dioxide. And this made them very, very embarrassed because no carbon dioxide, it is written in the dictionary. So that's the end. The end of the beginning. If you will be nice to give the art answers to Steve, Carol, and Mark, it will be very nice. If you have, I hope. Oh, maybe the questions, too embarrassing.
Might go back to your first question, and we will get the audience to say it. They will say it. Go back to your first, they will say out loud.
Yes. Okay.
Go back to the first one. Do the question.
Answers. Well. Oh. Yes.
All right. So here's the question. I'd like to see the fingers. What do you believe 4 minus 1 is? They all
Well,
say
well,
three.
well. Yes, I show. Well, it is, well, 3 most of all. Okay. So, well, let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. So, let's look it up. Choose the right answer. 4 minus 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any number will do. So I see that the majority chose the number C. Yeah? So, a teacher. A desk has 4 corners. You sawed off 1 corner. How many corners are left? Student. Usually they answer 3. That is very interesting. 4 minus 1 is 3, says he. And you see, I'll be talking about a very, very special thing. I will talk about it, I'll start to talk about it very many times, and this will be the first step. Do you see the 3 layers there? The upper field, the middle field, and the lower field. The space is divided. And so I'll repeat it many times, but it is very difficult to understand that the thinking is not a simple thing, and we have 3 kinds of thinking. A thinking, when we are in the lower field, we think with images, not only visual images, but with sounds. Well, you see, sometimes we understand it when I do not know how to call it, but I see it. I don't know how to call it. Maybe it is a bag, maybe it is a, what is it? Case. Well, it is. Before there is a word for it. Then the middle part, the middle field is the place when we think verbally. Verbally means not only verbs, not only words, but formulas, any kinds of signs. And the upper field is for abstract thinking. So the main thing is when you think only in one field, then you have a defective thinking. Then you have a defective knowledge, a defective understanding, and so on. I'll talk about it many times. Maybe I'll be able to not only to send the message, but to make it come to you. So I'll go on. 4 minus 1 is 5.
Did you say that again?
This. Let's look at it. Here we have a person in the lower field with an instrument, a table, and when we see in the upper field, we see that 4 minus 1 is 5. But it is not the only answer, because we can do it another way. 4 minus 1 is 4. I think that you have already imagined. It is. And really, 1 corner was sawed. 4 minus 1 is 6. If I'm not a good sawer, then it may be this way. 4 minus 1 is 3, and we see nobody is mistaken, because it happens so. And you see, if we do it in these 2 sorts of way, it is absolutely right. But the problem is that children, when they say 4 minus 1 is 3, do not imagine the models in the upper field, the abstract thinking. If they say 3 and they show me this scheme, this model, then everything is all right. But do you understand that the right answer to the question 4 minus 1 is 3 is not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you understand that we can saw it in such a sort of way that there will be 100 angles. And so the right answer is it depends. It depends on the lower part of our field, because you must understand it is even more difficult. I just didn't understand it for many years. That these 3 fields are not only thinking. It is thinking and action at the same time, because where is the border? When we imagine, I imagine that I jump down and go there. and I don't do it. But when I imagine it, and when I do it, where is the difference? There is no difference. Well, or maybe it is some, but to my thinking activity and to my activity, intellectual activity, there is no difference. So, well, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you see, it's quite another story. Then, the second question. So, did you have any answers?
Could you put the question up again?
Yes, certainly. Certainly. Well, here it is. 2 plus 2 is.
Well, we have 3 people who were brave enough to write it down.
Fingers.
But I want to see the whole audience with fingers. What's the answer? You're not going to say it, Vince? We say 4.
Good. Just, I wanted, you are doing excellently. And, just excuse me, I must find it. What was it? Excuse me. Too many presentations here. Well, 2 plus 2 is 2 drops of water and 2 drops of water, and you see, when we say 2 plus 2, what kind of, and we say 4, what kind of thinking do we use? We use verbal thinking, and I think that Russian students and American students have a lot of in common, and we just learn it by heart. Just 4 plus 4 is 4, or 2 plus 4 is 4, 5 plus 5 is 10, and so on. And we do not think that we do not know. We were not taught to know, and now we must know, because you see, I must tell you that if we, you see, the result is very interesting, because when you give these, if teachers and students understand this scheme and start to analyze their own thinking in this sort of way, they stop doing mistakes. They stop use defective thinking, defective understanding, and they are it is very difficult to manipulate them, because they see many things which are not seen when you think just in one sort of way. 2 plus 2 is 4, but 2 drops of water, and 2 drops of water will be what? Let's see. Well, 1 big drop of water, and you can make an experiment. I'm sure that you know it, so we'll not try it right now. Then 2 cats plus 2 sausages. I mean, usual cats. Well, usual Russian cats. Maybe American cats will not do. Well, so the result is 2. So first 2 plus 2 was 1, 2 plus 2 is 2. Then 2 matches, 2 pieces of paper. It depends on your vision, so either nothing or 1 pile of ash. That's it. Let's look at it. Then, but you see, it is not an anecdote, because when we use figures, when we use mathematics, we must understand, either we, teachers of mathematics, but bad teachers of mathematics, I'm sure that you understand it, but that see only in this sort of way. And they do not understand that mathematics is not for mathematics itself. It is just for physics, for economics, for life, everywhere. And it is not very, mathematics is a very good thing, but you must understand how to use it. And so, The lower field is the field where we have real things, not words. Just pictures, images, sounds, I don't know this word, tactile. Huh? Well, textual, even smells, and the smell, I don't know. And you see, the thing is, well, I haven't got the document camera. I haven't got the document camera. So it is not so good. But you see, I'll just show. If you think in any field, only in one field, then your thinking is defective. When you think in two of them, then your thinking is not defective but insufficient. You must think in three fields at a time. And you see, I hope that maybe today, maybe tomorrow, I'll have the document camera, well, yes, and so I'll draw some things which is difficult to draw in presentation. You see, imagine that there are arrows from lower field to the upper fields, and these arrows mean understanding. Because if I'll talk about it more thoroughly and have just a good example of showing the technology of understanding. And if we interpret the middle field in the lower field, or vice versa, then we understand things. That's it. And look here, we have an empty upper space. And what do you think will be there? The upper field is for models. And what kind of models should we put there? Yes, it is difficult, I understand. It is very difficult, but what kind of counting do we use? We use decimal counting. So when we have 10 elements of lower, units of the lower order, and then 10 units of lower order become units, 1 unit of the upper order. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and then no other figures but 10. 1, 10. And so, but you know that there are a lot of other ways of uniting things. For example, when we have 60, not decimal, but I can't say this word in English, either in Russian, 60 decimal way of uniting units. For example, how many seconds make an hour? Not 10, 60. How many minutes make, how many seconds make a minute? 60. How many minutes make an hour? 60. And how many hours make a day? 24. That's it. And so and we have a lot of them. For example, you know that some people count in dozens and so on. And you know that computer works in two-simal, I don't know how to say it, two-simal system of counting. And let's look it up. If we have the upper part, there are 10 sticks in each bunch. A bundle, bunch, well, let it be, everybody understands, I think. And if we have four-simal system of counting, then 2 plus 2 is 4, is another element, an element of upper order. So it is 10. And if we put 3 sticks together and consider them to be another element of upper order, then it will be 11. So 2 plus 2 is 10, 2 plus 2 is 11, 2 plus 2 is anything. It depends on the situation, on the context, and the context is the main thing, you see. Well, then there was another question. I'll be... That's it. 3 cats eat 3 sausages for 3 minutes. How much time do 5 cats need to eat 5 sausages? Yes? Fingers.
Vasiliy, we have one person have different answers.
Well,
And one person says it depends on how hungry the cats are.
good. We're starting to understand things. The message, yes, it depends. But you see, when somebody, there are a lot of anecdotes about it. But you see, there is a very, very rational core in them, rational summary in them, because it really depends. It really depends, but you must but you must know the contents. And so, what do we have? 3 or 4, 5? What do we have? Just show me. 3, 5? 3, 5. So, but really it depends, because if we, let's look it up. Just a moment. If we have this 3 cats eat 3 sausages for 3 minutes, how much time do 5 cats need to eat 5 sausages? You see, it's a usual task for competitions for 9, 8, 10 years students, and the usual answer is 5. And it is absolutely, well, it's considered to be absolutely wrong. And the right answer is 3. The people who make these competitions think so. But it is not so, because it depends. It depends because if you have 3 cats and the model of their acting, you see, the 3 cats in the lower field, real cats, real sausages. The model of their activity, the abstract model of their activity is in the upper field, and you see, the way they do it, then the answer will be 3, because it doesn't matter much how many cats will be in a column. Nothing changes. But if we put it oh no, it is not. It is the same. It is the same. And now, but let's put it another way. If they eat sausages in this sort of way, if we use this model, then 5 cats will eat 5 sausages in 5 minutes. And what answer is correct? Yes, all of them. Now, I understand that, if anybody will be interested in real answers to ask the questions, because they are really interesting, I think, especially the White House. And then I will discuss it not this time, and I'll stop it and continue next time. And so I'll come to another part of my presentation. It is, it starts like that. And it is quite, it is just, you say in Russian sports there are, what is the name of these persons? Yes. And the first time they come is the first, what is the name of the first approach, yeah? Maybe to then nothing happened. Then they started another way. So it is the second, what is the name? Attempt, yes, the second attempt. But not attempt, because it was not, I didn't fail, just to see the things from different sides. Now, what is the object of our work? I mean, of works, of our work, or most of us are principals as far as I understand, and teachers and principals, all the pedagogical workers. What is the object of our work? Mark has already told you that I work a lot with teachers. We have 4 seminars a week, and they are 2 hours long each, and we study many things, and including such one. It is a question for those who come, for novices, for those who come from the street. And I ask them this question, and they say, children, parents, subjects, but it is not right. It is not right. Because, children, are not the object of our work. Children, in the lower field. Well, maybe tailors, yes, maybe cooks, yes, but we do not work with children. We work with something else. What is the object of our work? Students, teachers? No. What is the object of thinking, understanding, knowledge? Oh, twice. Activity, speech, and so on. But what is the object of a builder, cook, or tailor? And what is the difference? Well, I'm in a bit hurrying maybe, but you understand that what is the object of a builder? Houses. Of a cook, food. Of a tailor, clothes. And, and what is the difference? And there is a very, very, very great difference. Just a precipice is between these professions. A builder, a cook, a tailor can see the object of their work, and they can see what is right and what is wrong, and the result of their work. They know what is a good house, what is good food, and what are good clothes. If a builder doesn't know what a building is, what will be the result of his work? Just a pause, just for you to think. What will be the next question? Until we know what is thinking as such, is it right in English? Understanding as such activities, as such we cannot do our work well. Because we do not know what thinking is and what understanding is. Houses, food, clothes are visible. Thinking, understanding, knowledge, activities are invisible. Well, I mean not my just working with a bottle or something like that, but as it is. A building as it is, every builder will say there must be a roof, windows, doors, floor, and any house must have it. As it is. And thinking as it is, activity as it is. And you see, just step aside, because when we, and Marco is absolutely right, when we gather and analyze the lessons which were held by teachers, or we have such project, we have such a experience. We do it every year, once a year, but we prepare for it a month or two. We have a self-governing day when students are teachers, and students are director, vice there, everybody. And then we videotape everything and discuss, looking at ourselves, how well we were performing. And you see, what is the problem? And what are the criteria? If we do not have a model of ideal thinking as it is, if we do not have a model of activity as it is, an ideal activity, then we can't assess, we can't evaluate, because what is evaluation? By the way, it is one of my favorite questions to my teachers, because they evaluate and assess every day. And so, what is evaluation? Evaluation is comparing what you see with what must be. And you have a scale, and so on. And if you do not have this, what it must be, ideal thinking, ideal activity, ideal understanding, how can we assess it? How can we evaluate it? So what I'm talking about, why I'm talking about these things. If you want to evaluate your teachers and your students, well, in this aspect, as activity as it is, and it means everywhere, and thinking nearly everywhere, understanding nearly everywhere, then you must have this model of thinking as it is. And so, houses, food, clothes are visible, thinking, understanding are invisible. How can we make invisible things visible? The end is near, the answer is near. Look here. You didn't see it. You didn't see it. You didn't see it, and I'm talking to you just as if you didn't see it. Have you ever seen an atom? Do you know what an atom is? And everybody says, yes. But it is impossible. We can't see atoms because they're too small. But we really saw it. But it is not a real atom. Where is it? If we, I have no document camera, but if I could draw it, where will I draw a real cat? I'll draw it in the lower field. And where should I draw this atom? Yes, in the upper field. But we mix it up. And we think, because we have the model and we use this model as if it is a real atom. And until, it is a very, very important thing, and until this model works, and until it doesn't come in contradiction to experiments, then it works. And so, now I've just two more pictures. Have anybody seen solar system? Yes, here it is. Have anybody seen molecule? Yes, that's it. Of water, hydrogen, oxygen. We know how it is. Well, nobody saw it, and I don't think they will. But we know because we have a model. And so the most pathetic part of this presentation is we need models of thinking, understanding, knowledge, activities, etc. to make them visible and to be able to see what is a good thinking, understanding, knowledge, activity, and what is not so good. Otherwise we can't improve it. We can't work with it. And when I say we, I mean at least three kind of people. First, principals, then teachers, and then students themselves. And we start to give this model to children in the first, when they are 7. And they can get it. And when they are 8 or 9, they stop to glue, just to mix things. Well, for example, you must hear, because I think you know these experiments, when a child, when he's 5 or even 6 years old, is being asked such a question. If we call this bottle a TV set, will we be able to drink water from it? And they say no. When I read about these experiments, I didn't believe. And so, because I have a lot of children, so I went and started to ask everybody. All the 5-year children answered in this sort of way, because they do not separate the, no document camera, you understand, the lower field and the middle field. And if you remember, the people who lived in caves didn't do it also, either. All those euphemisms, is such a word, euphemisms, for example, do not say the real name because we are afraid that the name will, after the name is in the middle field, after the name will have the real thing coming. Say the devil, and here he is the problem. Then, I'll continue. Yes. So, I'll just, it will be a few, we'll just have a surface slippering on these slides. If you want to create something, you need to know how this something is organized. So, we have ideal models. Ideal models are in the upper field. Then we have words for things, and then we have real things. And the sorcery of these things, you must understand that there is some sorcery. Well, for example, it doesn't matter much, but you might read it. If you want to assess the quality of something, you need to have an ideal model of what you want to assess. Ideal model of what? Of what? For example, ideal steepness. It is a Pisa steeple, or what is it? No. So, in order to assess a substance, it is necessary to have a principal ideal model of this substance. And the scheme of thinking activity is once more here, and I'll discuss it once more. So upper field is the space of individual pure thinking, pure abstract thinking, which comprises categories, ideal objects, models, abstract notions, schemes, etc. interiorized by a person. Medium field is the space of text, science, speech, in any languages, including those of mathematics, chemistry, pictography, etc. Lower field is the space of actions, real events, real phenomena, and real life objects. Yes. And there is another scheme, a model, which explains some other and very, very, very important things, but they are here. Look at the upper field. Here. Individual models, individual structures of one person. I've drawn two variants of persons. It is not a sex segregation. It is just to show that they are different. It's a male figure and a woman figure, and it doesn't matter. Just two men or two women, it doesn't matter much. Individual model structures are really individual. You can have different norms, different values. And I look at the lower field, individual, no, it is not ideas. It is a mistake here. Excuse me. There must be written individual experience. My translators, I didn't look it up. Well, individual experience. And you see, I'm from Moscow. I saw the perestroika, the beginning of 3 years. I lived when it was the Soviet Union, and it was the CPSU, and we had Cold War, and we had a Berlin Wall, and then it was broken. And now I live in a country when everything is coming to dark past is coming back. And my feelings, what I see, can you see what I see? Can you feel what I feel? No. You will feel only when I tell you, if I tell you. And because the only corridor which connects people is the middle field. And how is it working? When we, I'll come to it later. So, another idea. Everything exists in three fields. Everything exists in three fields at a time. For example, you see this thing in the lower field. And until, let's presume that we are not, civilized people. And we live in somewhere in the 2nd century of our era. How will we call it? I think there was no such things at that time. Maybe I'm mistaken. But then it exists as it is, without words. And we can call, when we see it, it is a kettle. We see steam. We can say, oh, a handle. Or we say silver. And any other words. And they are about this thing. And they're different and not different. They are coming together. And then we can think about this kettle and this thing in abstract models. This cube means it has what? Volume. The molecules mean it is ferrum. Yes, it is made of, and I can put this kettle in many other structures, because everything can be put in different structures in the upper field. For example, it is a product of industry, isn't it? Yes, it is. It is a thing, a part of purchasing and selling. It is a part of our home, yes, our kitchen. It is, and if we understand that everything is connected with each other, not in a very simple way, it is rather simple, but a bit more complicated way, in 3 fields, then we start to think, actually, or maybe not defectively. Let's look up. For example, do you know Archimedes' screw, his idea? There was an idea of this very great philosopher, Greek philosopher. He just had an idea. And then this idea has the name. You see, the words, either the words show some notions from the upper field, the words in the middle field, or the words show the notions from the lower field. See, Archimedes' screw, but this idea was put into the lower field, and a lot of things appeared. And you see, when you start, and I think just it is a very great, I'm not such a good speaker, I'm a poor speaker. And if I were taught, I just said, you see, it is very marvelous. It is absolutely, if you can teach children to do such things, they will be inventors. America will be not the best country, it will be the best, and so on. Because it is very great to put ideas from the upper field into the lower field. And it can be taught. And it can be taught, first of all, the first step is to show children, to show students, that thinking is not just one and the whole thing. It consists of 3 ways of thinking. And you must both separate them. You must understand what is what. And then you must follow the rule. The rule, I've already told about it, but I'll repeat it. The rule is, when you think in one field, then your thinking is defective. When you think in 2 fields, it is insufficient. When you think at 3, and 3 fields at the same time, then your thinking is real thinking. And you see, by the way, what were the mistakes? Why did I give you these tasks? I understand that everybody knows. So what was the idea? To show that there are 3 sorts of thinking, and we must choose what thinking to use. And we must understand when we have a lack of, for example, I say, for example, la 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 la. What is la 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 la? And for example, I came to, not to America, to some other country. And everybody says, Todd said, monkey, monkey, monkey. I didn't understand. Carol explained to me, because in Russian, monkey means that you imitate everything. And what is usual here, as far as I understood, it is a toiling without any ideas, and just it is slave work. Yeah. So they say la 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 la, and I say, what is it? And they say la 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 is Brahms. I say yes, good. La la is Brahms. But, and do I know something? Yes, I do. And you just think, and how many notions we have in this sort of way, in this defective sort of way. For example, a lot of people, when they asked, what is speed? I mean, physical notion. Yes, speed. They say, well, speed is velocity, speed is quickness. And where are they? They are only in the middle field. And, well, our children, our students usually say, you can't explain a word with words. Either you must give an example of a real thing or put this word into a model. For example, there is a great Poland writer, Stanisław Lem, Solaris, yeah, the film. What is the pronunciation? Solaris. Yes. This film, you do not use mics because nobody understands my speech. Solaris, what is it? You know this film, it is, well... Solaris. The author, Solaris, had such a joke. What is sepulchres? What are sepulchres? I do not understand. Some hero of this books asked. And he had got an answer. Sepulchres is the result of process of sepulting. And look here, and how many, when I say la 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 is Brahms, I use only middle field. Let's presume that it is document camera. No upper field, no lower field, we have only the middle field. And when we say sepulchres are the result of process of sepulting, how many fields do we use? 2, because we have an arrow in the upper field which shows the process, and then we have something like a round. It will be the product, because many processes have, all the processes have the result. So let's go on. And so defective, incomplete understanding, knowledge and communication, what we are talking about. Well, you see, speed, quickness, velocity. If we do not have anything in the lower field and nothing in the upper field, then it is defective. For example, do you know such word to bank? Hold up the hand who knows. I didn't either. So I chose this word. And when we look at such pictures, and I say, it is to bank. Do you know more before than we started? Yes. But is our understanding, well, you see, it is not thinking now, it is understanding. I speak about so complicated and so difficult things, which I'm awfully surprised that nobody is crying yet. And so don't get embarrassed, because it is very difficult. It is very difficult. And you must be real principles to understand it. I know some things when you work with bureaucracy makes us stronger. and very energetic. So try your best. When we see the word in the, I'll return to this slide just to be, it will be in more, well, if we see this trepang, we do not know nothing. We have no understanding at all. If I had another word in this middle field, for example, trepang is Brahms. So you would say, yes, we know that trepang is, I forgot what I said, just Brahms, for example. Right? And it will be defective because nothing in the lower field and nothing in the upper field. And if I say trepang and then I show you the picture, then you have two fields. And if you have two fields, then you have not defective. Understanding, thinking, knowledge, anything. It is insufficient, but it is not so bad. And it is understanding, because what is understanding? Understanding is arrows coming from any field to another field. Interpretation of words, images, images in words, models in real things. For example, Archimedes' screw in planes, in this thing, and so on. That's it. And can anybody think about it? Because I understand that it is very difficult. And if you do not want to do it, I'll do this to myself. What else can we add to make our understanding sufficient, not insufficient, absolute, good understanding? What must we do? Yes, and I'll give you one more example. For example, sometimes when you ask a student, what is an oak? They answer, an oak is a tree. Good, say we. But are you sure that it is so good? Because if we ask him, what is poplar? What answer can we get? Poplar is a tree. If we say, what is birch? And he says, birch is a tree. And now we must understand that maybe we have not, what kind of understanding? Only one field, it is defective. Because oak, birch and poplar are the same things. Maybe he doesn't imagine them in the lower field. Do you understand, yeah? And maybe we have insufficient understanding when answer. Birch is a tree, oak is a tree, poplar is a tree, fir tree is a tree, and so on, will be not defective, but insufficient. When they see, they know how they look like, and another situation where they do not know how they look like, because there are a lot of people, I think, even here, because everybody judge according to his own mentality. I can say, I can differ a poplar from a birch, but a lot of trees, I know that they are trees because there are branches, the trunk and leaves. So I understand that it is bad, but it is a good example, because do they understand the difference between a poplar and a birch? Do they see the picture in the lower field? Maybe, and we must check it up before evaluating his good answers in the test, because he put everything all right. Oak is a tree, birch is a tree, and so on. And another thing, when he says, it is a tree, does he mean that tree is a part of a model? I think that we have the same biology in our countries, I hope. Because what is the model? What is the model where tree is an element of? Forest, but forest, grass, bushes, squirrels, worms, birds. And it is not so good to say that it is a system. It is a lot. There are a lot of systems. And well, it is a polysystem. Forest is a polysystem, but it's the exact system where the tree is an element. What is it? I don't understand.
A plant?
Yes, plants, absolutely right, plants. Because, and what kind of plants do we have? We have grass, bushes and trees, two different elements. Because as far as I remember, mushrooms are somewhere else. So that's the idea. So if we have somebody saying something, we must evaluate it according to this scheme. Then, well, just, no. Yes. I'll come to one of the tasks which were given to you. And I am absolutely sure that most of all, hold up your hand who didn't write east and west. Yes, Mark. Oh, well, 2, well, 3. So 3, and why? And most of us, and before I started to use this model for my own thinking, I was absolutely sure that sun is rising on the east, east-west, home is best, east-west. Well, and then if it is so, how can we explain such a strange thing? That if, well, I don't speak about a quarter zone. I don't speak about polar zone. I speak about, well, Phoenix may do, New York will do. Nights are shorter in winter and days are, nights are longer in winter and days are shorter in winter. And vice versa, quite on the contrary. The days are longer and shorter, well, according to the season. Why? If the sun starts here and goes here, it is semicircle. So, in winter, it goes quicker, and when it is, well, in winter, day is shorter. So, it is not 12 hours long. For example, 10, 7, 10, 9, and in Moscow it is 7 or 6, and more to the north it is even shorter. So, for example, 8 hours, one semicircle, and how much? Oh, how much? 8? 16. Twice as fast. How can it be possible? It's a miracle. It is impossible. And the thing is that we were taught defective knowledge. Sun does not rise on the west, in the east, and does not set on the west. It does it twice a year. Only twice a year. And do you know the dates? Yes. And in the north, when the day is very short, in winter sun rises on the, in winter, in the north, somewhere in Canada, for example, it rises on the, it rises. I'll show you. Let it be Earth, because east, west. So if it rises on the east and sets on the west, and in winter, and very slowly there. And it is not so, because it is east, here is west, it is south, and it is north. And so in winter, it rises here, take a very, very small part of this circle here, and then goes on the dark side of the earth, and for us, and has a very long part of this circle there. So sun rises in winter, it rises on the north, and near approximately in the south, or north, south, south, south. And quite on the contrary, it rises in the north when it is summer, in the north parts of our country, and your country and any country, and so on. That's it. What I'm talking about? I'm talking about effective thinking. How many things do we know which are not right? And you see, when this idea, these three fields of thinking and intellectual activity is not my idea. I found it, maybe if somebody is interested and maybe want to know more about it, it is Shchedrovitsky, Georgy Shchedrovitsky. It was printed 1982, so rather long ago, and when I read it and started to think, I understood that so many things we are doing in a wrong sort of way because we do not think about the context, the core of the things, and so on. 2 minutes. Oh yes. Now, so 2 minutes. Now, as far as I understand, some of you, those who are interested in what I'm speaking about, will stay here, and if nobody will mind, I'll continue talking about schemes, because it is not the only scheme which helps you to understand. Well, that's the core, because I am a principal. And I'm a teacher and a principal, and when I'm a teacher, I want children to have good thinking. When I'm a principal, I need teachers to have good thinking. And if they do not have such thinking, they teach children not in a right sort of way, because not only wrong knowledge, defective knowledge, but also they can't be thinkers and understanders. And so there are a few schemes which are absolutely necessary to evaluate the work. Scheme of activity. A few words about the scheme of understanding, the scheme of knowledge. And if everything will be all right, then tomorrow I have one more time. I'll talk about, maybe show you a video or something like this to show the process of analyzing, of teaching analyzing their own work. But I can't, Marx told first of all that we work with teachers, a lot of analyzing, videotaping, but I can't start with this without showing the criteria which we use to say what is a good job and what is not a good job. That's.
I see applause for.
Oh well.
I have to tell you a true story. My first year as a teacher, I was a 4th grade teacher in North Pole, Alaska. That's 10 miles south of Fairbanks. I grew up in Fairbanks. On the Iowa test of basic skills that I was required to give every year, twice a year, September and again in April, so I could measure my success. Sound familiar? This is a long time ago, you guys. One of the questions was, where does the sun set? Which cardinal direction? Every Alaskan kid, since they live at the top of the world, knows that there isn't one answer. So every kid missed it every year. And you know what my principal told me? He said, don't worry about it, it's not important, it's a silly test. And it really isn't measuring the important things we do in education. Because we're really not supposed to be teaching content. We're supposed to be teaching life and giving kids the ability to learn continuously and be able to apply things they learn. So Vasiliy, Bogin, we salute you for making us remember in our country that is so test-driven right now that it creates an amazing amount of stress, that there's more than one way of looking at things, and 2 + 2 does not necessarily equal 4. Thank you, Vasiliy.